We are live, Your Honor.
Good evening. The meeting of the City Council will come to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show that all City Council members are present this evening. We have a number of presentations, so I would ask for your patience. The first presentation will be for Manufacturers Week proclamation. I'm going to ask Deputy Economic Development Director Sway to join me with Special Assistant Peterson, for Dodgy Jen Capasso, Triple Ring Technologies Brian Whiffley, Chief Scientist and Co-Founder, and Ohlone College Veronica Parker, Director of Career Education Programs and Services, to join me, please.
Thank you. So we're going to be issuing Proclamation 1926 for Manufacturing Weeks. Before I get into the proclamation, there's nothing more important to local government than outstanding jobs in our community. When you talk about an outstanding community, you're talking about great housing that's affordable to its residents, but you're also talking about jobs that pay well, that then support the community. And these folks represent some of the manufacturers in our community who not only provide great jobs, but they provide opportunities for folks that are looking to start a career and things of that nature. So we're really proud to be able to recognize Manufacturing Week. Whereas manufacturing is the backbone of America, powering our economy and building our middle class, and we celebrate the strength and resilience of the American worker and recommitment to the investments and innovation that will ensure the future is made in America. Whereas we celebrate all that is made in America and recognize the importance of our nation's manufacturers in every aspect of our lives, from the electronics we rely on, to the safety packaged food we eat, the clothing we wear, the appliances and furniture in our homes, the cars we drive, and biotechnology that makes our world safer. American manufacturing is essential in our economy. Whereas the manufacturing industry employs over 12 million Americans nationwide and over 300,000 across the Bay Area counties directly and many more indirectly, providing high-quality jobs to communities across the country and region and producing the highest quality goods in the world. Whereas we recognize manufacturing as an evolving business which is becoming cleaner, greener, and more advanced. Whereas the city of Newark was born from manufacturing innovations such as salt production and the creation of the Wedgwood stove, and continues to be home to countless manufacturers that strengthen our economy and make our world a better place. Whereas by participating in Manufacturing Week, the city of Newark has the opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of our business and local manufacturers. Now, therefore, I, Michael Hand, the mayor of the city council, mayor of the city, on behalf of my council members, proclaim October 4th through October 18th as Manufacturing Week in the city of Newark, and encourage residents to appreciate how items they use every day come from these organizations, and we're so proud to recognize these folks. And as we support our local economy and our local jobs and things that are made in the United States, it's just a reminder, you're not going to find better quality of items made than in America. So it's my honor to present Manufacturing Week, the proclamation, and who will be accepting.
Actually, if you don't mind, I will have the three of them.
Great. And I don't know if any one of you three would like to say a few words? Don't have to. Okay.
I'm going to add that we do have one more major event coming up for the entire community. It's going to be held at Ohlone College, Newark campus on October 18th, which is next Friday. It's going to be from 4 to 7 p.m., and you'll be able to meet our manufacturers as well as Ohlone College. There will be activity for kids, and you can learn more about what is made, what is research was produced right here in Newark.
So let's hear it for our manufacturers. The next proclamation is October as Promotoras Month. I'd ask Etta Rivera, Veronica Torres, and Adriana Lopez to join me, please. Let's hear it for them. That looks like a long speech, Etta. That looks like a long, I'm sorry. That looks like a really long speech. So I'm just going to say this is Promotoras Week, and I'm going to turn it over to Etta. We're really proud of the folks that comprise Promotoras. It's been an organization, I think, in our city for a number of years now. And these are citizens in our community that feel empowered now, and maybe didn't so at one time feel like they had a voice. They have a voice today, and their voice is being heard. And it's our honor as a council to recognize them, because once we start recognizing folks that don't feel like they had a voice, it encourages others within the community to say, you know what, I can have a voice too. And it sends a message, more importantly, to their children, that we have a voice, you have a voice. Your voice counts. And that's why this is such an outstanding organization. So we're going to issue Proclamation 1927, proclaiming October 2024 as Promotoras Month. Whereas Promotoras are Spanish-speaking women and men who are trained to be advocates who create solutions to community needs, whereas the Promotoras Newark plays an invaluable role in making the city of Newark a more welcoming place to live, whereas the Newark Promotoras act as intermediaries between healthcare, social services, educational institutions, and the Latino community. They provide information, referrals, and training to ensure access to these vital services. Whereas the Newark Promotoras work is grounded in strong cultural values, including a deep appreciation for personal relationships and an eagerness to help and support each other in a new community. Whereas they learn to navigate a new culture and community, the Newark Promotoras become guides to other families through the city and new to the city. The Newark Promotoras networks like an extended family, providing social and emotional support to each other. Now, therefore, I, Michael Henn, the mayor of Newark, on behalf of my colleagues on the city council, proclaim October as Promotoras Month in Newark, and thank Newark Promotoras for the compassion and the commitment they show to their community. They are role models for all of us on how to ensure the health, safety, and educational and financial well-being of the most undeserved families in our community. So let's hear it for the Promotoras group. I'll pronounce it. Put Etta on the timer, would you, City Clerk? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mayor, I only have a few words, except that I made it bigger now, bigger letters so I can read them. Good evening, Mayor Hannon, council members, executive staff, and promotoras here tonight. I am honored to represent the Newark Promotoras Network tonight and to accept the proclamation recognizing October as the Promotoras Month. Promotoras are trusted community contributors known as agents of change. Their collective energy inspires the community to support each other in facing the many challenges of being immigrants and pursuing their dreams. They embody the spirit of cultural pride, leadership, and community engagement. The promoters are well known for building community partnerships and relationships to help their communities thrive. Promoters are essential frontline workers who connect families in need with resources. Over the past 4 years, the Promotoras network has grown from a couple of hundred of families to a robust community advocacy network of over 1,000 families. The lead promoters and volunteers who represent this network are crucial leaders in the Latino community and passionate residents of the city of Newark, which makes up 1/3 of the population. Their dedication inspires us as we celebrate Promotoras Month in October and appreciate its valuable impact on society. Thank you again to the city of Newark, to the Promotoras here tonight, and to everyone for making this a great impact. If I can have just a couple of minutes, I'd like to say it in Spanish real quick. Thank you, Mayor. Dice, las promotoras son colaboradores comunitarios de confianza conocidos como agentes de cambio. Su energía colectiva inspira a la comunidad a apoyarse mutuamente para enfrentar los muchos desafíos de ser inmigrantes y perseguir sus sueños. Encarnan el espíritu de orgullo cultural, liderazgo y compromiso comunitario. Las promotoras son bien conocidas por construir alianzas y relaciones comunitarias para ayudar a que sus comunidades prosperen. Las promotoras son trabajadoras esenciales de primera línea que conectan a las familias necesitadas con los recursos. En los últimos 4 años, la red de promotoras ha crecido de un par de cientos de familias a una sólida red de defensa comunitaria de más de 1,000 familias. Las promotoras principales y los voluntarios que representan a esta red son líderes cruciales en la comunidad latina y residentes apasionados de la ciudad de Newark, que representa 1/3 de la población. Su dedicación nos inspira mientras celebramos el mes del promotor y apreciamos su invaluable impacto en esta sociedad. Quiero agradecer a la ciudad de Newark y a todos los promotores por su continuo apoyo y por dejar una huella permanente de cambio positivo. Sus contribuciones son profundamente admiradas y valoradas. Muchas gracias.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
may I say a few words?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So Eda has been working with the city of Newark for about 40 years since she was a baby. She took this program on. The Promotoras, Union City brought the program to the school district, and when the school district could no longer hold them, they came to the city of Newark. Eda took this program on. And I'm going to tell you, it's unbelievable how the Lord puts things in our path. It was back in 2020 when the Promotora program came to the city of Newark, right when the pandemic started. Not only are they promotoras, they are angels. The promotoras were angels doing essential frontline work, passing out essential items to protect our residents. I'm proud to say that as we close the celebration of Latin heritage, our promotoras are all Latin angels. And I want to thank them for everything that they've done. I've grown to love them. I've worked with them. I've stood by their side. I've watched them flourish, become citizens that we are proud to have in our community. Congratulations. Eda, congratulations to Eda too for all the years she's put into the city of Newark.
She said she's just halfway done. I had the opportunity to attend some of the graduations, as you recall, early on. And how awe-inspiring when you see women who, as I mentioned, maybe felt, I don't have a voice in this community, but to then see them graduate and see all of a sudden, not only do I have a voice, but I feel empowered, that I can do things, my family can do things, and I know the resources and where to get information. a good citizen is a participating citizen and is a smart citizen, and that's what we create every day with these ladies leading that organization. So thank you for what you do. To hear that we've grown to over 1,000 families is really a testament to your dedication. And next year, when we issue the proclamation again, maybe we'll double to 2,000 families. That'll be my goal to you. Thank you. One of the items I'd love to do is introducing employees. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Jasenia Timani to join me up here, please. Jasenia began her journey with the city of Newark as a 17-year-old. Oh, she might have started when you started at the same age, not at the same time. 17-year-old working as a customer service representative at the Silliman Center. After 5 years, she shifted from the recreation world to the manufacturing world. How appropriate. And worked for her family business as an accounting specialist for 13 years. Jasenia rejoined the recreation team in 2018 as an administrative support specialist too. Her dedication and skill set earned her a promotion in 2022 to recreation coordinator, where she oversaw youth and adult sports programs. Jasenia introduced family fun runs and helped lay the foundation for our autism corrections program. In August of 2024, Jasenia was promoted once again to rec supervisor, where she now oversees the city's public art master plan and the newly formed human services division in the Recreation and Community Services Department. In this role, she will lead exciting initiatives at the Newark Resource Center, which will be opened once renovations are completed. Jasenia is a proud graduate of Newark Memorial and attended Foothill College, where she studied communications. She recently celebrated 20 years of marriage to her high school sweetheart, Barry. Come on, Barry. Is a mother of 4 children whose ages range from 19 to 4 years of age. Outside of work, Jasenia enjoys serving the community through her husband's nonprofit, Melino Foundation, spending weekends at her family home near Yosemite and cherishing time with her family and best friends. Let me just take one moment to talk about the nonprofit organization. They work to serve food to those that are underprivileged, underfed, and need that assistance. It's a great foundation, and again, to put that at the end just shows that, it's something we just do. It's something we just do in our community because it's needed. It's not something you read at the top where there's a lot of accolades. You read it at the bottom because it's what we do as part of being a member of this community. And you and your family should be very proud of that. Jasenia's heart for this community is deeply rooted, and she is eager to continue serving the residents of Newark in a different capacity and making a positive impact in her new role. So let's congratulate Jasenia. This is a real great commendation. I'm going to ask Jim Zulowski. Help me, Jim. Zulowski. I probably butchered it again. Zulowski. Okay. Is that your phone, Jim, or my phone? Oh, yeah, I got it. It's Zulowski. I got it. Without Nagy. Yeah. We have heroes in our community, and this is one of our heroes. We were doing fireworks sales, safe and sane, fireworks sales, and Jim works for the Viola Blythe nonprofit. And as he was setting up that day, he saw a horrific accident right outside the booth and leaped into action. Most people don't know what to do. Jim knew what to do. And so we're here to commend his bravery in helping save a life. Whereas in July, a distracted driver hit a tree and flipped her car over onto its roof on Maury Avenue. Whereas Jim
and another Good Samaritan rushed to the scene, shattered the car's side window, cut the seatbelts, and pulled the driver out to safety. They then went back and successfully rescued the driver's dog as well. Whereas helping people comes naturally for Jim, he was honored by Assembly Member Bob Wykowski in 2014 as a local hero for his volunteer work at the Viola Blythe Center. Jim has coordinated weekly donation pickups, played a vital role in the center's annual fireworks booth fundraiser, and helps in the preparation of its annual Christmas party that provides toys to more than 300 children each year. Again, an unsung hero in our community that, you walk by Jim every day and, we don't take the time to say, gosh, I wonder if that's a contributing member of our community. Well, he certainly is. And now he's going to be really well known around the community. Now, therefore, I, Michael Hannon, proudly commend Jim for his historic and heroic life-saving actions and hold him up to an example for making a positive difference through his volunteer efforts. So I'm going to present this commendation to you, Jim, and say thank you very much for all the work you have done for our community over many, many years. Thank you. Thank you. I only have 15 more to go, so let's be patient. No, I'm just kidding. This is another one. Any of us that have teachers in our family or no teachers recognize the value that they bring to our communities. There's not enough that we can pay our teachers, and I say that with all sincerity, for the work that they do day in and day out. It's a tough job. And they do it, and they love what they do. I know many, many teachers that have retired from teaching, not after 25, 30, 35 years, 40 years. Councilmember Jorgens, your mom worked as a teacher for how many years, my friend? 38. 38 years. 38 years. You do it because you love it. And we're really proud to recognize Michelle Lippelt, if I pronounce Michelle's last name correctly. Come on up, Michelle. Are there any members of the school board that are here this evening? Hi. Fong Nguyen from the Newark Unified School Board, and Jose from the administration side. Outstanding. Thank you for being here to help recognize the Teacher of the Year for the city of Newark. Whereas Michelle is currently a transitional kindergarten teacher, don't talk about herding cats, huh? At Birch Grove Primary, and has been a part of the Newark Unified School District family since 1998. Whereas Michelle excels at educating, guiding, and motivating her TK students. Whereas Michelle provides ongoing support and guidance to other TK teachers and has been an integral part of 2 initiatives at Birch Grove Primary that support student mental health and well-being. During the introduction of positive behavioral intervention and support, she worked to gather data and input from all stakeholders and encouraged blending existing systems with new systems. Michelle then participated in an institute led by University of California, San Francisco, just an FYI, San Francisco, Healthy Environments and Response in Trauma in Schools team from engaging in trauma-informed practices for students. Whereas Michelle is always eager to collaborate with classroom teachers when students are struggling to access grade-level content. Whereas Michelle constantly reaches out to the family members of her students quickly to help them solve any issues. So it's more than just teaching. You become part of the family. You get to know the family. You get to know the kids. You talk to the parents. You let them know this is where your child is struggling. This is where they're going to need some help. Because when you create that partnership between the teacher and the family, you're going to be much more successful in getting that child to where they need to be. Now, therefore, I, Michael Hannon, on behalf of my colleagues on the City Council, recognize Michelle Lepelt as the Teacher of the Year for her untiring work, professionalism, and contributions to the youth of our community. So I proudly present this commendation to you, Michelle, and thank you for the many years of hard work for our students in the great city of Newark.
It's my honor.
Just pretend they're all TK.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Leithelt, and I am a teacher here in Newark for the past 27 years. I started my career in Newark, and I'm going strong, year 27 this year. I just want to say what an honor it is to be Newark's Teacher of the Year this year. We work with wonderful teachers. The community is so lucky and fortunate that we have so many wonderful teachers here in Newark, and I am humbled and honored to represent them this year. Birch Grove Primary is my home. Milani was my home before that, so I lived through the merger, and I'm just so proud of every student that has walked my path, that has been in my classroom. It is my honor to continue teaching them, working beside them, and giving them the education they deserve here in Newark. So thank you.
We're gonna look right here. Folks, we're going to take a 2-minute break. So those that were recognized, if you want to go ahead and sneak out, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do it. Did I miss somebody?
You know, if I ever have an accident, I hope Mr. Skyboski is there.
We are live, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call the city council meeting back to order. The next item on the agenda is our consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of items D1 through D6. Are there any items staff would like pulled from the consent calendar?
Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor.
I'm
Did I
sorry.
miss something? I was doing so good.
Public comment.
I turned the page too soon.
Sorry, I wasn't doing my job.
We're going to go back. This is going to be the public comment section. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to speak on an item that's not on the agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on an item that's not on the agenda tonight? Please come forward, sir. And if you would, please give us your name for the record. Thank you.
I learned last time.
Yeah.
Good evening, all the city council members and Mr. Mike and Mayor. My name is Vinod Kumar. I'm a resident of Newark for the last 31 years, running for the city council this year. I just want to bring to something very important for the complaint I already made in the past, 5 years ago, and also maybe in the last 2-3 months. For the road need to be paved. The road is very bad on Magnolia Street and Sycamore. And what I notice is, after I am pretty sure that some of you guys already see that how bad it is, and I did not see anybody paying attention, and I did not see any kind of proper formal response to me. Even I wrote a very brief complaint about it and with the pictures. But rather than that, I see a lot of other roads which were in very good shape being paved, and I do not understand what is the policy and what is the difference between those roads and these roads. I will appreciate that if you guys can update about that, so we can understand that it's going to take another 10 years, or it's going to be paved with the same roads what we are paving right now, because the road condition is very bad. So I was out of country for 10 days. I'm going to write an email with the pictures to all the council members and our city managers, so you guys can see more better. The other thing I see that in agenda item, I just want to bring to you guys' attention, because I have tons of experience how that tobacco retails work, how it affects the community, how it affects the city. It's very, very dangerous, scary. I own commercial properties. When there is any tobacco stores or retails, tons of homeless people. I don't know how much revenue we're going to make, but one thing for sure is going to cost us much more than what we're going to make from the taxes. So please keep in mind, and we'll continue to discuss on this topic. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Just so folks know, it's not that we're disinterested in certainly any public comment on a non-agendized item. We're not able to discuss them or comment on them because they're not on the agenda tonight. But certainly when you make a comment to us, we're certainly making note of it and taking those comments certainly seriously as we move forward. Any other folks that would like to comment on items not on the agenda tonight? Yes, ma'am, please come forward. Okay. Once your hand goes up once, that's it, We don't let hands go up 2 or 3 times. It's once and that's it. So if there's no one else here to speak on an item not on the agenda tonight, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. As mentioned, the consent calendar is items D1 through D6. Are there any items that the staff would like pulled from the consent calendar?
Yes, Your Honor. Item D5, please.
Okay. Any other item that council members would like pulled from the consent calendar? Council members? Is there any member of the public that would like an item from the consent calendar pulled for discussion? Okay, then the consent calendar consists of the following items. 1 is the approval of the audited demands. 2, the approval of the September 26, 2024 minutes. 3, adopt a resolution approving a second amendment to the contractual services agreement with Good City Company. 4, adopt a resolution to 1, amend the employee classification plan to add the classification specification of strategic initiatives manager. 2, amend the compensation and benefit plan for the management, supervisory, and professional employees group to add the classification and salary range for strategic initiatives manager. 3, amend the city's salary schedule to in conformance with the California Code of Regulations, Title II, Section 570.5. And 4, amend the 2024-2026 biennial budget and capital improvement plan to delete and add classifications. 6, adopt a resolution establishing a maintenance reserve fund. Would someone like to move the items to be approved, with any item approved by resolution or ordinance being numbered consecutively, and that the reading of the title suffice for purposes of introduction or adoption of the ordinance?
So moved.
By Councilmember Jorgens. By Vice Mayor Freitas. Please vote. Oops. That's sorry. Colleagues, start voting.
Not cleared.
Oh, no, I think it'll clear, won't it?
Okay.
Okay. And those items pass unanimously. City Manager, D5?
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes, Your Honor. I need to ask for a recusal because I'm a leasehold on the real property and business interests on the following property, 7730 Enterprise Drive. Thank you.
All right, my friend. City Manager Benoon.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, and members of the council. Item D5 is a recommendation from city staff to award a construction contract to S&H Construction Company to convert the former Head Start building into the city's first resource center. The contract is over $1.6 million, with funds coming from Assemblymember Alex Lee, the City of Newark's ARPA recovery plan, and a CDBG grant that staff obtained. And Mr. Interiano's back there in the audience, and I thank him for his work on that. It is anticipated that construction would begin in around 6 weeks and would be completed in the summer. Award of construction contracts are placed on the consent calendar because they are fairly routine. However, in light of Vice Mayor Freitas' recusal, I ask that this item be removed from the consent calendar. With that in mind, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Great. Colleagues, any questions on this item? Is there any questions that the public have on D5? I'll close the comment section there and come back to the council for a motion and a second. By Councilmember Apodaca.
Second.
By Councilmember Collazo. Please vote. And that passes 4 ayes with Vice Mayor Freitas being recused.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark rejecting bid protest and accepting the bid and awarding contract to S&H Construction, Inc. for the Newark Resource Center renovations project number 1360, an amendment of the 2024-2026 biennial budget and capital improvement plan.
The next item, ladies and gentlemen, is the introduction of an ordinance adding Newark Municipal Code Section 5.42 tobacco retailers to Title V of the Newark Municipal Code. Before we begin the next staff report, I understand that Councilmembers Collazo and Apodaca will need to recuse themselves. Councilmember Collazo?
Thank you, Your Honor. I need to recuse myself as I have residential property located at 36805 Magnolia Street, 7015 Thornton Avenue, Mexico Tortilla Factory, which is a manufacturer here in town for 53 years almost, manufacturing the best corn tortillas, chips, taco shells, and tostada shells. And commercial rental property at 7155, 7167, 7179.
Is that conflict of interest?
That's why she's recusing herself. Councilmember Apodaca.
Yes, and I need to recuse myself as well, since I own real property within 500 feet of a tobacco retailer at 35122 Lido Boulevard, Unit A. It's a residential rental property. Susie doesn't have a phone?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I get just a rough show of hands on who might want to speak on this item? So I'm doing a quick calculation in my mind. It looks like about 15 people. Normally, we would give 5 minutes for public comments, but that would take us, at least an hour and a half. So what I'm going to do, with your permission, is I'm going to reduce the public comment section to 3 minutes, okay? And let me say that by prefacing my comments by saying, this is very important to the city of Newark. This item came forward to us as a city and a council really as a result of community input. We knew that there were a number of communities around the Bay Area that had already adopted a tobacco retail licensing program, and we had not. And, I'll be honest with you, we didn't have this on our radar. We didn't think a tobacco retail licensing issue was one that we needed to focus staff resources on. But when the community came to us and said, you know what, you're one of the last few cities that has not adopted a TRL, I'll call it, we got on board and began doing the work necessary because we recognize part of our responsibility as council is the health and safety of our community. So I'm really proud, Mr. Benoon, of the work that you and your staff did to bring this to the council as quickly as you did. And I look forward to your comments. I look forward to the staff report. And I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Benoon.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, and members of the council. Item F1 is a recommendation from city staff for the council to consider a proposed ordinance that would add a chapter to the city's municipal code that would regulate the sale of tobacco in Newark. This proposed ordinance, if enacted, would require all tobacco retailers within city limits to obtain a license to sell tobacco products and would authorize our community preservation staff to ensure that retailers act in compliance with the city's new law as well as existing state law. Before we begin tonight's presentation, I would like to thank the members of the public who have attended our city council meetings and advocated for such a program, and also community stakeholder groups who have worked with us the past few months. I'd also like to thank the council for your diligence in reviewing the considerable amount of materials that were submitted, and I thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to receiving direction from you on this important item this evening. And last but not least, I express my gratitude to staff for putting together this new program to address safety concerns of our residents. With that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to our Community Preservation Manager, Mr. Oscar Carrillo. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Benoon. Mayor, council members, and members of the public, my name is Oscar Carrillo. I'm the Community Preservation Manager for the City of Newark. And again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present the proposed tobacco retail license ordinance. As Mayor so eloquently stated, adopting these types of tobacco retail laws are incredibly important because they can help us address public health concerns associated with tobacco use, particularly youth tobacco use, and ensure compliance with federal, state, and local tobacco laws and encourage responsible retailing practices. The following presentation serves as a summary of the staff report, and I highly recommend reading the report and the attachments for more detailed information as to how we arrived at this point. It's important to understand the existing tobacco legislation and to explain exactly what a tobacco retail license is. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the current state of retailers in Newark, as well as our current tobacco regulations. Then I will provide a brief summary of a proposed ordinance and a description of how staff plans to implement the licensing program. Of course, at the end, I'll be glad to take any questions that you may have. There's a few key pieces of current legislation to be aware of. Number one, the STAKE Act, the Stop Tobacco Access to Kids Enforcement Act, went into effect in 1995. This California legislation specifies the minimum age at which tobacco products can be sold to, which is currently the age of 21. It also provides the state enforcement tools such as fines and license suspensions for violations of the act, and it also requires a state license to sell tobacco products. Included are the signage requirements, as many of you might see if you go to a convenience store, you're going to see a sign, a big red and black sign that says you have to be over 21 to purchase products. And it also requires that retailers check the ID of any customers who appear to be under the age of 27. Next, we have the California Business and Professions Code, which went into effect in 2004. The most important part of this legislation is that it allows local jurisdictions the ability to create their own tobacco licensing programs, separate from the state licensing program. Many municipalities have taken advantage of this, and as the mayor stated, we're the last ones in Alameda County to have a licensing program. More recently, Senate Bill 793 went into effect in 2023, and it banned flavored tobacco, including menthol, but there were some exemptions. And this Senate bill, it encourages local enforcement, which we currently don't have, which we need because we can't really rely on the state to enforce some of these regulations. That's why it's very important to have this tobacco retail licensing program in order to ensure that they're in compliance with not only the state, but our own regulations. Why have local regulations? Well, since the state is not providing us significant enforcement, especially with the flavor bans, we need to be able to have our own program in order to ensure that these retailers are not selling flavored products, which are those products that are most attractive to the youth. So what is a tobacco retail license? Basically, a tobacco retail license, or known as a TRL, grants a business the privilege of selling tobacco and tobacco products. Under this recommended proposal, all businesses wishing to sell tobacco must obtain and renew a license annually. The license fee would be calculated to ensure the program is 100% cost recovery, meaning that the fee would fund the processing of applications, the required inspections, and any associated enforcement. The fines, as with all other fines in New York, are going to start at 100, go to 200, and then 500 for continuous violations. The proposed ordinance would also allow suspension of the license ranging from 30 days, ultimately to the revocation of that retail license. The goal of any TRL program is to ensure retailers are complying with all regulations. As I mentioned earlier, New York is the only city left in Alameda County that does not have a TRL program or a tobacco ordinance. I hope everyone had the opportunity to review the staff report, specifically the benchmarking attachment, to see how our proposed ordinance compares to what other cities have implemented. You'll notice, and it's very important to note, that overall, our proposal would be one of the stricter ones in the county, especially considering the proposed proximity requirements that we're going to impose on new retailers. At the time of the staff report, there were approximately 39 tobacco retailers in Newark, identified with the red dots on that map. There are 12 schools in Newark identified by those yellow dots. And those yellow dots, you can see the little, the circles around it, and that signifies the 1,000 feet radius. Currently, there are about 4 retailers that are within 1,000 feet of a school. This is important because the proposed ordinance would prevent future tobacco retailers from opening within a specific distance from not only other retailers, but schools and other youth-centric locations such as parks and daycare facilities. Currently, the New York Municipal Code defines a tobacco retailer as having a tobacco or tobacco products covering 20% or more of their floor and display area, or the sales of their tobacco and tobacco products make up 75% or more of their gross sales. As currently defined in our municipal code, those new retailers, as defined, cannot be located within 1,000 feet of another retailer, parks, daycares, and schools. Retailers that meet these requirements must also comply with all federal and state regulations, including adhering to the minimum age of sale. Our proposed ordinance will update the definition of a tobacco retailer to include any business that sells tobacco or tobacco product, regardless of the amount or floor space that they display them on. Whether they sell one brand of cigarettes or a full array of products, they would all be required to operate under the same rules, ensuring consistent application of our proposed ordinance. The current regulations only allow us to dictate where these defined retailers can operate, but again, they do not provide an enforcement framework for us to ensure compliance with federal and state laws. Again, the adoption of a TRL ordinance and associated inspection program affords us that ability to truly and effectively ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. Not only would the proposed ordinance create a regulatory framework and a licensing program, including adopting and expanding state restrictions such as the flavored product ban, but as I mentioned, it would also update and broaden the definition of a tobacco retailer. Without a TRL ordinance and inspection program, we cannot ensure that retailers are not selling banned flavored products, which, as I mentioned before, are the products that youth find most attractive. Also, the proposed ordinance broadly defines flavored products to include products that induce a heating, cooling, or numbing sensation. While we can't see into the future and know what types of nicotine or tobacco products are going to be created, we hope this broad definition will capture any future products that attempt to circumvent these regulations. As with any other ordinance, we can always amend our language as the landscape changes in the future. The ordinance would also carry over our already existing proximity requirements. The difference being that these proximity requirements would apply to anyone who sells tobacco or tobacco products, regardless of percentage of sales or display area. We would also provide legal nonconforming status for existing retailers and allow the new owner of an existing retailer to obtain a license as long as they obtain their new license within 30 days of obtaining that business. If they don't, then they would have to reapply as a new business and be subject to those proximity requirements. You snooze, you lose. So based on these proximity requirements, there would be little room, if any, for a new retailer to obtain a license, meaning the number of tobacco retailers could potentially be capped at our current number. I will have a slide coming up that kind of visualizes what those proximity requirements mean, and it will demonstrate exactly where, or literally where, they won't be able to conduct their business. So our proposal also includes stipulations that the penalties will only apply to the owner or licensee. Ultimately, they should be held responsible for any activity that happens on their business. We also don't want to criminalize the use, possession, or purchase of these banned products. It's not the end user that we're targeting. We will really want to focus on efforts on the retailers themselves. Pharmacies obviously should encourage health, and tobacco is not really known for their health benefits, so this ordinance would also prohibit the sale of tobacco in pharmacies. Minimum pack size and pricing will also help deter youth from affording these products. The ordinance would also articulate the penalties for noncompliance. As I said, it'd be a 100, 200, 500, and also we would allow for the suspension and ultimately revocation of those licenses for continued violations of the ordinance. So here's what the proposed proximity requirements would look like. The green circles are retailers, the blue are parks, the purple are schools, and each circle encompasses the 1,000-foot radius from those areas. As you can see, there is not much room there. And if there is any gaps in between it, that might be residential properties. So not only is the proximity requirements pretty restrictive, we're also going to have to look at what the zoning is to see if retailers would even be allowed in those areas that are not covered by those circles. If adopted, the staff would continue with the implementation plan referenced in the staff report. We've already started drafting applications and licenses, and we've already calculated a proposed license fee to ensure 100% cost recovery. Alameda County Public Health has offered to assist staff with our implementation efforts, and we definitely plan on taking them up on their offer. They've thus far provided valuable technical assistance, and we hope to continue to work in partnership as we roll out this new program. In 2025, we plan on mailing out the invoices and applications to enroll existing retailers and issue those licenses. Following that, staff will conduct the required inspections, which will be annual, to ensure that all tobacco regulations are followed, as well as that businesses are free of blight and being maintained in a good manner. As the program moves forward, staff is going to be tracking our efforts and collecting data, such as the numbers of violations, the types of violations, the levels of enforcement, and other metrics to ensure we are meeting our annual inspection goals and to measure the impact this ordinance has on our community. As I mentioned before, as with any law or regulation, we will always reserve the right to amend and adjust as new trends and unforeseen concerns arise. Staff is excited about this program and the benefits it will bring to the community. And with that, I am open for any questions.
Great. Colleagues, any clarifying questions at this point?
Yes, one.
Yes,
brief
Councilmember
clarifying
Jorgens.
question for me. I think it was slide 9, if you want to go back to. So we're allowing for legal nonconforming status for existing retailers and allowing a new owner of an existing retailer to obtain a license. Let's say in the future, we want to add to our definition of, areas of concern that would trigger that 1,000 feet, or we want to take away one of these provisions. Is that something we'd be able to do, or are we kind of stuck with, once we assign a license to a business, as long as they're in compliance, which, I hope would be that they would be in compliance, but, as long as they're in compliance, they get to keep their license? Or would we be able to go back and revisit some of these, if the, as Newark changes and, we feel like we need to revisit some of these clauses?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember. Great question. Yes, we would be able to go back and revise and pull licenses if we feel the need to, and I'm sure the city attorney can.
And then my other question would be, we've got some pretty strict enforcement measures as a part of this program. Can you describe the city's, we don't have a ban on the total number of retailers. Can you describe the city's confidence that we're going to be able to enforce this in the way that we're describing?
Absolutely. I've been part of a tobacco retail license program in another municipality where we had almost 700 tobacco retailers, and we had one inspector handling all of those, and I'm confident that my staff can definitely handle the 40 that we have here.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Vice Mayor Freitas.
Quick question. The department will be providing inspections, local inspections to annual inspections will be on the program.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Which department
Oh.
will be providing?
It's going to be the community preservation, our 2 code enforcement inspectors.
Nothing, okay, thank you.
Could you go back to slide 11, please? So slide 11, as you mentioned, kind of limits where new retailers would be able to locate. But this doesn't include, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong, this doesn't include any licensed daycare facilities, because we may
does
not know where they're all located currently. So if a new business were to try to open in an area not currently covered, and we discover beforehand that there is a licensed daycare, they would not be issued a permit.
Correct, and that's still a little bit of research that we need to do, is to go through the state's licensing, that licensed daycares, to get some of that data to ensure that we don't miss those.
And I want to go back to the enforcement side, just for clarification. You mentioned the fines associated with violations, but I think really the more significant penalty is suspension of their license. So I'm a retailer of tobacco and I sell a product to someone that's 19 years of age, and we have a decoy, for example, that we've utilized and have confirmed that they in fact have indeed sold to a 19-year-old. Not only are they subject to a $100 fine, but they're looking at an immediate 30-day suspension of their license to sell any products. And then a second violation could be a 60-day suspension, and a third, God forbid, is a 90-day suspension. And I would imagine a fourth could result in revocation of their license entirely. Is that the way you kind of see it playing out?
Correct, it would all be escalating.
And we're really going to rely on the community, aren't we, Mr. Carrillo, to provide us with information where we believe there's bad actors around town, if they're hearing or aware of sales to minors or things of that nature. We're going to certainly rely on the community to partner with us to let us know that these issues are going on, so you can do your due diligence and inspect and ensure that they are compliant.
Absolutely, it wouldn't just be annual inspections. We would absolutely be responsive to any community concerns about any specific retailers.
And the change of ownership, you mentioned that if Bob Jones sells his business to Jim Smith has 30 days to come in and apply for a TRL. I would imagine we're going to base that 30-day period on their business tax application. Would that be a fair way of calculating the time period?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions, colleagues? Clarification questions? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll open up for public comment. We have quite a number of folks that wish to speak. I'm going to ask maybe to have 3 people come up at a time and have one person speak and the other 2 maybe sit here in the front row so that we can kind of move it along. So we'll start on this side of the room. 3 speakers just to come on up, no specific order. And please identify yourselves for the record, and then we'll kind of have the bench.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Hannon, Vice Mayor Freitas, fellow council members, City Manager Bernoon, and Executive Cabinet members. My name is Fang Nguyen, Newark resident and NUSD School Board member. I'm here tonight to speak on the tobacco retail license ordinance. I appreciate the City of Newark taking initiative to implement this ordinance because we are the last city in Alameda County to do so. In comparison to other tobacco retailer ordinances, this one is moderate, and it took, as I was reading through all the documentation, I noticed that all stakeholder input into consideration, which I appreciate. I think this ordinance is a step in the right direction, but there are key elements that are left out that could potentially benefit and safeguard tobacco and unflavored vaping product usage from our youth even more. As we are all aware, there has been a huge shift in vaping amongst our underage youth, and the current drafted ordinance did not address banning of all vaping products. The city is restricting flavored tobacco products, but not unflavored vaping products, disposable or otherwise. I hope that the ordinance passes tonight and urge city staff, Mayor Hannon, and council members to consider the ordinance get reviewed and amended as conditions relating to tobacco and vaping product usage changes in our community. In the near future, I hope the ordinance can be amended to restrict all vaping product sales as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. City Manager, I don't know if you want to have staff comment, or let's hear all the public comments and then do kind of a summary at the end. Great. Please come forward. And then, folks, as one person leaves, if another person can come up and sit in the front row, that'd be great. That way we can kind of move it along. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members and city staff. This cannot happen without your support, so you deserve applaud. My name is Vinita Verma. I'm president of Peralta District PTA, which serves all of Alameda County PTAs, schools, and cities. We are the largest advocacy organization in the county. I applaud that finally Newark is going to join all Alameda County cities in having a tobacco retail license. This is a crucial step in curbing the illegal sale of tobacco products to children. However, we must not stop here. We need to ensure that the regulations are strict and comprehensive, leaving no room for exploitation. I would like to encourage the City Council not to create any exemptions. All exemptions, small or big, weaken the ordinance. Please do not give any exemptions for hookah. You will hear that hookah is cultural thing, but trust me, I'm South Asian, and hookah has never been anyone's culture. No addiction has ever been part of the culture. Since such things only benefit the sellers who sell them. You will not find hookah in any of our homes. The primary goal in this TRL should be to protect our most vulnerable community members, our children. Prop 31 banned for flavored tobacco statewide, but a city ordinance needs to go above and beyond to protect kids further. I strongly encourage you to ban all vaping devices, single or multiple use, and make all tobacco products more expensive so that the children cannot afford them. We must do everything in our power to safeguard our children from the dangers of tobacco. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Vice Mayor. Good evening, all the members. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Yogs. I am the Peralta District PTA Advocacy Chair. Today I'm here as a public member and a parent I have a couple of family members who are addicted to cigarettes and other forms of tobacco, and I know the struggles they go through on a day-to-day basis. I'm not going to go through and read something for you guys because I know that you're all savvy enough, you've done your research. I'm just going to take an example. We've all eaten our dinner and we are here. Now, if you see someone walking in here with an ice cream, we are all going to be tempted. Now, just imagine there's a cart right here, and they're giving out free ice creams to everyone. I'm sure the queue is going to be right there getting the ice creams today. Even though we are all not hungry, just looking at something tempting, which is flavored, is going to have that effect on us adults. Just imagine the impact it will have on all the kids. That's how the vaping products are today. Be it flavored or not flavored, just think about the society we are going to create for our kids. We don't want to create a perfect world. We are going to try to do that, but we should try to at least reduce whatever temptations we can, which is not going to help them become better citizens or develop in a better way, right? So I am really thankful that you all took time to be here today on a weekday and a night, because we are all here. We are passionate about creating a better city today and tomorrow, and I'm hopeful that we all get this tobacco retail license in place, because that seems to be the first step we take towards a better tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Tough to follow, sorry. But good evening, Council. My name is Luis. I am the Community Engagement Specialist at Eden Youth. So dear Mayor Hannon and council members, we at Eden Youth would like you to please consider that proactive compliance checks in all licensed retailers is best practice in ensuring that there are stores that these stores are monitored and brought into compliance. Some cities that adopt TRLs but do not have the staff capacity to enforce their ordinances decide to portion TRL fees to outside agencies in conducting enforcement activities. Eden Youth Center is here to inform you that we can offer our assistance in this area. Eden Youth Center trains youth to support underage sales operations, and we can even contract with the city to conduct TRL compliance checks should you want assistance with either aspects of the effective TRL enforcement. For example, if Newark determines it does not have the staff capacity to conduct TRL enforcement in-house, it would be an option to earmark a portion of the annual TRL fee that the city is collecting from retailers for TRL enforcement to contract with an agency who could conduct sale inspections and youth decoy operations. This support may be especially helpful because in 2020, when California conducted youth decoy operations in 16 Newark tobacco retailers through the STAKE Act, during which 7 of the retailers sold tobacco products to minors, Newark was tied with Oakland at 44% for the highest violation rate in Alameda County that year, demonstrating the need for enforcement of tobacco laws in order to promote a culture of compliance among local retailers. Eden Youth Center will be available to explore these options with the city if that is helpful in moving TRL enforcement forward. Thank you for your consideration.
Do me a favor, would you leave your business information with the city clerk? Because I'm certain at some point we are going to be looking at decoy opportunities, and the more resources we have to tap into, the better. So if you could leave your information with the city clerk, that'd be appreciated. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, council members. My name is Pranav Santakumar, and I'm here to express my strong support for the establishment of a local tobacco retailer licensing program in Newark and the proposed ordinance that has the capability to ensure stricter regulations on tobacco sales. So I am a senior at a local high school, and I'm here to give the perspective of a youth who's actively in societies where it's being abused, tobacco. And I'm part of my school student council, and I've actively worked to address this issue at advocating for stronger policies and developing initiatives aimed to reduce the access to tobacco products in our community. But over time, I realized that these efforts are important, but they alone are not enough. To create lasting change within our community, we need laws like the proposed tobacco retailer licensing program to enforce accountability at a much higher level. And one of the key reasons that this ordinance is so important is that it holds retailers accountable for following these local and state tobacco laws by requiring every tobacco retailer to display a valid TRL in a publicly visible location. We ensure that all businesses are subject to the same regulations and enforcement can be consistent and fair, stopping the sale of tobacco to minors and, more importantly, stopping the influence of tobacco at its source instead of trying to just change minors. As well as that, I want to talk about flavored tobacco products, as they are a prime concern. This type of tobacco is designed to affect the youth, and I strongly support the provision to prohibit the sale of all flavored tobacco products with no exceptions, as these products pose a serious risk to public health, and limiting their availability is crucial to preventing addiction from ever starting within our youth. Including language that have ambiguously labeled products, such as cooling sensations and other misleading descriptors, we can close loopholes that tobacco companies often use to exploit and circumvent the laws that we place. Another critical part of the ordinance is the establishment of annual compliance checks, as this will give a robust penalty structure for violations. By setting escaping penalties for repeated offenses, the ordinance ensures that retailers understand the serious consequences of failing to comply. And this level of enforcement is necessary to ensure that tobacco retailers follow the rules, especially when it comes to selling to minors. Overall, this TRL ordinance is a strong, but it's a necessary step to protect the health of our youth and ensure that retailers are held accountable for the sale of harmful products. Once again, I urge you to pass this ordinance and ensure that Newark is able to protect our youth and build the healthiest community possible for our youth.
Thank you. Mr. Benoon, just so I'm clear, all flavored tobacco is currently banned.
Correct, under state law as well as under the proposed ordinance, and that includes hookah.
Okay, and that includes hookah. Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please. Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Mayor Hannon, Vice Mayor Freitas, and all council members. I'm Esmeralda Arevalo. I'm a resident at Newark, and I'm here to urge you to adopt a strong tobacco retail licensing ordinance that includes a complete ban on the sale of flavored tobacco products and electronic smoking devices. As you know, youth access to tobacco is a significant problem. In our community, according to the California Healthy Kids Survey, nearly 3 in 4 of our 12th graders believe they can easily access or obtain vapes, and almost half feel the same about cigarettes. This is alarming. We must take action to prevent our young people from becoming addicted to tobacco products that can have lifelong consequences. Moreover, the availability of cheap tobacco products, especially cigarillos, posing a greater risk to our community. Cigarillos are often sold in singles for less than $2, making them easily accessible to young people. This is not just a public health issue. It's a matter of justice for our youth, especially those in marginalized communities who are disproportionately targeted by tobacco marketing. We also need strong enforcement mechanisms in place. Establishing an annual compliance check for tobacco retailers is crucial to ensure they follow the law. This will hold retailers accountable and help create a compliance that protects our young people. Newark is currently the only city in Alameda County without a local tobacco retail ordinance. We have an opportunity to lead by example and protect our youth from the harms of tobacco. Please act now to implement a comprehensive tobacco retail licensing ordinance that prioritizes the health and well-being of our community. I also want to mention that I have a little brother at home, and I want him to flourish in the future. By adopting this ordinance, we can create a healthier environment for him and people of all ages in Newark. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much.
You guys ready?
We are ready.
All right. It's lovely to see you guys again. You guys are all dripped out, Your Majesty.
Thank you.
Let's see.
You don't all have to address me that way. I just want to make that clear.
Let's see. All right. Good evening, esteemed council. It's great to be back. For anyone who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Fario Martinez, a former Newark Memorial High School student, former Berkeley student, well, Berkeley? No, a former Ohlone student as well, and current Berkeley student right now. Go Bears, see, he gets it. Let's see. Okay. I've lived in Newark my entire life and seen the tobacco epidemic evolve from cigarettes behind bleachers to vaping in classrooms. A pretty drastic step, but it's happened. And having lived through this, I cannot emphasize the relief I feel knowing that you guys will be putting a TRL into place. Okay, I spoke about it before, and it's great to see that it was on the agenda and you guys are doing something about it, you know? And then I also had the pleasure of meeting with many of you. Unfortunately, they had to redact themselves. But I want to emphasize that this kind of TRLs are by their nature very sensitive, and in the sense that it's going to feel like you're stepping on the toes of businesses. And that's not something we want to do, but it's something that typically ends up happening anyway when it comes to stuff like this, okay? But I urge the mentality of health over wealth when it comes to this kind of thing, simply because of the fact that, as you guys have seen before in the previous presentation, we have about 40 retailers of tobacco here, and some of them even sold to minors, you know? Of course, they were decoys, so there was no real harm done in the moment, but now we see that it's like, oh, okay, what if it hadn't been a decoy? What if it had been some kid who just wanted it for the first time? Not to mention that I think banning all flavored vapes, absolutely amazing. You guys are doing a stunning job right there. But at the same time, flavors are but a means to an end, because they're not selling flavors to you. The industry doesn't sell flavors. They're selling addiction to you. And flavors is just the way to get to that, because anybody who tries flavored vapes, okay, they're hooked on it now, but now they'll just go back for anything. That gives them the same high, gives them the same feeling, the same sensation. Not to mention the fact that with 40 retailers, that's a pretty impressive amount for the population Newark has. And then I would also urge and both recommend the consideration of possibly capping the amount of retailers that Newark could have. Because do we really need 40 smoke shops? And do we need, out of those 40 smoke shops, even just one that is willing to sell to a minor in disguise? So again, I'd like to urge that you guys are doing something important. You guys are making a step in the right way. You guys are doing something that will impact not just me, or anybody else I know, but future generations as well. And the fact that you guys have shown that this is something on your agenda, and that you guys have even showed consideration for the fact that we will adapt it as time and circumstances require, I think that's amazing. So you guys are doing a great job, and there is nothing that can't be done better, though. You know, anything can be improved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, wait. Oh, I got one last thing, okay?
Sure.
Let's see. I actually have 100 signatures from concerned citizens in favor of a TRL, and you guys are giving them a TRL, and that's amazing. But again,
Great.
They want a strong
Please,
TRL.
please
and
make sure you leave those with the city clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Are there any other Berkeley grads here? Let's just get it out of the way. Good evening.
Hi, tough act to follow. Good evening, Newark City Council. I'm Lucy Wu, a lifelong Fremont resident, and so I'm a lifelong neighbor of yours. I still remember the Sparrows at the New Park Mall fondly. Thank you for taking the time to create a tobacco retail license that will act in concert with cities like Fremont, Hayward, and actually 300 plus cities all over America to protect the health of youth and curb nicotine addiction. Just to echo everyone else, this is a real public health issue, and I know you're taking it seriously since the TRL includes language to prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco products and require ID checks. Flavored tobacco is usually the first type of tobacco product youth try, and it is in fact consistent across all product types, including e-cigs, hookah, and smokeless tobacco products like snuff and chew. The most popular flavors are fruit and mint, aka menthol, and there's evidence that removing flavored tobacco products from shelves can also increase the number of people who try quitting. One study found that 2 years after a menthol ban, that 1 in 4 menthol smokers had quit, and over 60% of those same people that were daily or occasional menthol smokers had made a quit attempt. It takes almost 30 quit attempts to successfully quit for some people, so that is a huge deal. Of course, there's always room for improvement, and someday it would be nice to prohibit the sales of all electronic smoking devices and have even stronger minimum pack size and minimum price laws so that the impact of your TRL can be felt even more powerfully. So in New York City was an early adopter of these kinds of policies all the way back in 2009, and they've kept updating it ever since, and I look forward to seeing what kind of updates you make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Hello, hello. Unfortunately, I did not graduate from Berkeley. I graduated from San Jose State, so go Spartans. Hello, Mayor Hannon and council members. My name is Cesar. I'm a youth prevention specialist on behalf of Ian Youth. I'm speaking for Sonal Madala. He's a high school senior, co-president of the Bay Area Student Activists, a coalition of students, activists demanding our voices to be heard and encouraging civic engagement in all ages. Today, he's speaking in support of considering a clear provision in the TRL ordinance that specifies the minimum legal ages for tobacco of 21, reinforcing the federal tobacco 21 law. While federal law already sets the age to purchase tobacco at 21, it's important that this ordinance makes that requirement explicitly clear to all tobacco retailers in Newark. Having worked in Newark for the last 3 years in a low-income area, I have firsthand noticed the ease of access for high school-age students to purchase tobacco. This ordinance helps ensure that retailers are fully aware of the law that are held accountable for selling tobacco products to underage individuals. As a student and an activist, I know how easily it can be for young people to access harmful products like tobacco when retailers aren't following the law, and I know that the impacts can lead to a lifetime of addiction. By specifying the age limit in this ordinance, you're reinforcing that Newark prioritizes the health of its youth, ensuring that every retailer is reminded of their responsibility to verify the age of anyone attempting to purchase tobacco. In the interest of our youth and giving them every resource to succeed, this small but crucial step will go a long way in preventing underage tobacco sales and reducing youth access to these harmful products. I urge the council to also consider the importance of including clear language on the minimum legal sales age, ensuring all Newark retailers understand and follow the law, and ultimately protecting the young people in our community, because the reality is that tobacco consumption in teenagers has significant effects on their friends and families too. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Unfortunately, I won't be attending Berkeley. My name is Andrea Narayan, an incoming pre-law student at Harvard College on a gap year, serving as a youth advisory council member. Today, I'm here to highlight a crucial aspect of the proposed tobacco retail licensing ordinance that I believe could have been strengthened to better protect youth in our community. Allowing the transfer of a TRL in these sensitive locations undermines the very protections we've worked so hard to establish. Youth-sensitive areas are designated that way for a reason, to protect young people from the harmful effects of tobacco exposure and access. If a store can simply transfer its license upon sale, those protections become meaningless, and we risk the pro-life of tobacco retailers in places where our youth are most vulnerable. By prohibiting such transfers, we can prevent new business owners from continuing to operate in locations where they shouldn't, limiting the spread of tobacco products near young people over time. This provision is not just a technicality, it's a safeguard that directly impacts youth access to tobacco, ensures that businesses don't use loopholes to bypass regulations designed to protect public health. In a city that values the well-being of its youth, I believe this is a necessary step to make the ordinance more effective and meaningful. I advise the council and city staff to consider this critical protection when finalizing the TRL ordinance, and to prioritize the health and future of New York's youth by limiting their exposure and access to tobacco products. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Vice Mayor and Honorable Council members. My name is Gurpreet, and I'm a student at James Logan High School, and I'm here today to express my strong support for the City of Newark to adopt a tobacco retail licensing ordinance. A TRL would allow the city to regulate tobacco sales more efficiently, helping prevent underage access to dangerous tobacco and vaping products. Youth vaping rates are rising, and I have witnessed this firsthand. I remember on several occasions other students offering me to vape, and another few students who had gained tobacco products from convenience stores or tobacco smoke shops without being carded, since they looked older than 21. By adopting a TRL ordinance, Newark can ensure compliance with age restrictions and reduce youth exposure to these harmful products. This ordinance is essential for promoting healthier communities and protecting our younger generation. I strongly encourage you all to join all other jurisdictions in Alameda County that have passed tobacco retail ordinances already, which have ended the sale of all flavored tobacco products. Please act now to protect the youth and our vulnerable residents from a lifetime of addiction to tobacco. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. Dear Mayor Hannon, Vice Mayor Freitas, and Councilmember Jorgens, my name is Arjun Singampalli, and I attend school in Newark. Thank you for your leadership in considering bringing the TRL into action. Please address the harms of tobacco sales in our community by adopting a comprehensive TRL ordinance, including ending the sale of all flavored tobacco products and vape, as well as other tobacco-related health protections for residents. For example, youth access to tobacco is a problem in Newark. According to the 2022-2023 California Healthy Kids Survey from the Newark Unified School District, nearly 71% of 12th graders believe that obtaining vapes is easy, and 47% of them think that obtaining cigarettes is easy. This is alarming for people who have their whole lives ahead of them. And more importantly, 12% of juniors in high school and 26% of non-traditional students have vaped in the past. More importantly, the tobacco industry aggressively targets youth and communities of color. And more importantly, all other jurisdictions in Alameda County have passed tobacco retail ordinances, which have ended the sale of all flavored tobacco products. Newark can join neighboring communities to protect youth by reducing access to these addictive products. Please act now to protect youth and vulnerable residents from a lifetime of addiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. So I got more personal story rather than facts, since you already got 15, 20 people already saying that. So let's get started. So hello, my name is Ronan Fife, and first I would like to thank the council's efforts in bringing the ordinance forward. So yeah, to being born and raised in Newark, it is my responsibility to speak on such matters. Throughout my high school years, I had firsthand experience in seeing people smoking nicotine. Thankfully, I never caved to peer pressure. And started to smoke. People make it sound healthy, and it's just inhaling flavored air. That couldn't be further from the truth. Vaping can be seriously addictive, and it is unfortunate to see anyone addicted to vaping nicotine. For years, I always wondered why kids were even smoking on school grounds. Is it to look cool, or is it because they can't wait 6 hours without smoking a vape? Especially with flavored vapes, it is made to sound harmless. Who wouldn't want to inhale their favorite fruit and feel all tingly and relaxed? My favorite fruit is strawberries, and I'm pretty sure they have a vape that has that flavor. Even after a ban on these highly addictive flavor vapes, people will just switch to unflavored ones to still get that tingly feeling and to relieve anxiety, which is why I'm advocating for an end to all sale of vapes. It shouldn't be normal for everyone to be disrupted in class by alarms going off because someone is vaping in the bathroom. Vaping hinders everyone in the community, whether they use it or not. This is why I'm here today. We are the last city in Alameda County without a local ordinance to regulate tobacco products. Some people may say that vaping is less harmful or gets people to stop smoking. Typically, it will just shift adults' addiction from cigarettes to vapes. On top of that, it is highly addictive for younger people. We as a society do not know all the consequences of using vapes. But we do not know we do know the consequences of smoking cigarettes. Back in the 50s, cigarettes were marketed as healthy, just like vapes are today. Over 50 years later, we finally know how harmful cigarettes are. My question is for you is why wait? We can already see vaping is dangerous, but who knows what will come out about these in 50 years? The problem is already bad enough as it is. My sister just started high school this year, and the first week back, we were asking how her day was, right? She was like, it smells like weed. But I digress. This is about vapes, not about weed, but yeah. Back where I was talking about my sister. Let's try and mitigate this problem before it gets worse. We aren't trailblazing anything new here. I'll state again that we are the last city in Alameda County without a local ordinance to regulate tobacco sale products. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Good evening. How are you?
Hi there. Good evening, Council. My name is Amaya Wooding, and I was involved in Fremont's tobacco retail licensing efforts in 2019. So as you can imagine, I'm really glad to see Newark taking it up as well. I do want to share that back in 2019, we actually heard anecdotally of Fremont students coming to Newark to access tobacco products. So there is a reputation of being somewhat open season over here when it comes to tobacco. Whether those stories were true or not, as has been referenced in 2020, we have data from state enforcement agencies that something like 40% of Newark retailers visited by an underage decoy were able to successfully obtain tobacco. So this, combined with the fact that the state's checks are irregular and infrequent, underscores just how important it is for the city to do something that can be controlled locally. So a well-managed tobacco retail licensing program fills in the gaps and allows enforcement activities to happen at every retailer at no net cost to the city. Let's see. It also allows the city to set additional rules that combat the billion-dollar strategies that tobacco uses to make addiction appealing and affordable. So that's flavors, low prices, coupons, the like. The state requirements are a floor that every other jurisdiction in the county, as we're hearing often tonight, has seen fit to surpass. Now, there are some things in the current ordinance that are, or not in the current ordinance, that are less than the county benchmark, and I'm going to review a couple with the understanding that just with the timing of this legislative process, many on council will desire to see something adopted before their terms end. So these are things that could perhaps be examined by a future council. For example, there's no minimum price for cigarettes, which is not the case in nearly every other city that adopts a minimum price ordinance, for cigars as well. Additionally, the $8 minimum price that's being set is lower than the $10 minimums that are now adopted, for example, in other Bay Area cities like Emeryville and Concord, and definitely lower than the $15 in Union City, which your city attorney will be familiar with. There's also no cap on the number of licenses which the city could institute, and giving a license to everyone currently operating and then saying, okay, we have enough tobacco in this town, that effectively shuts out new competition for existing tobacco retailers, and that's something that makes it that business can get behind it. So thank you for your consideration, and good night.
And I want to thank you for your comments, and I want to thank you for your advocacy and leadership when it came to the city of Fremont. And I'll say this as the mayor, it's unfortunate that we are the last city to adopt a TRL. And you're absolutely right. If I want to buy a cigarette or I want to buy something that is regulated in nearby communities, I'm going to go to Newark because they don't have a program. And that's why I'm confident that as we move forward with an aggressive inspection program and an aggressive enforcement program, we're going to see those bad retailers toe the line or won't have their license very long. So we're sorry that we're late to the party, but we're here, and I think we're going to see significant improvement when it comes to the sale of these products to our minors. I think we're going to put a stop to that pretty quickly. Next. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Blythe Young, and I'm the Community Advocacy Director for the American Heart Association. I've been working on these policies, specifically the enforcement aspect of tobacco retail licenses, for almost 6 years. I actually had the opportunity to work with Oscar Carrillo in San Jose in 2019. I will say we've come a long way since then, and I've learned a lot about what does and doesn't work in a policy. I also like to frame them these days as business licenses to sell a product. It's not so much an us versus them. Even though I work for a public health organization, it's about regulating a product similar to processes you do in your city already. I've heard the intent this evening to do compliance checks annually. I think I've also heard the intent of doing at least one a year, but that's currently not in your policy. Your policy says that you shall do the checks, but it doesn't have an annual frequency stated. And best practice and the model policy for California recommends stating at least one annual check codified within the language of your policy. So that's pretty much what I'm here to request. You have a pretty strong start on your policy. I believe that that would be a non-substantive change you can make tonight just to, codify the intent of what you already plan on doing. And it also sort of further cements your fee and justifies the amount that you'll charge if you're stating that you're going to do at least one a year within the policy itself. I also want to state that on my way to your meeting, I stopped at Oliviera's liquor store. I like to just pop around just to see. It's less than half a mile from this building, and I would have been able to purchase a number of flavored vapes that are currently illegal for sale in the state of California and would also be prohibited under your code. I often get questions from city attorneys about the legality of mandating a minimum of a check and whether that opens the city up to any legal risk. We work very closely with the Public Health Law Center, who is the state model provider, who is a law firm, and they are well versed in litigation. And in the 6 years that I've been working on these policies, it just hasn't happened. And their legal perspective, which I'd be happy to share with your staff, is that it's not a risk. No one's going to come after you if you don't meet your standard that you set, but it does give you a benchmark, and it does justify that fee that you're charging retailers, and it creates a level playing field for everybody. Expressing your intent that you'll be checking everyone, not just bad actors, that you're going to be going around so that those aren't selling to youth can confidently say, you know, we passed inspection. We're not selling things we're not supposed to be selling, and we're not selling to youth. After working with Alameda County for 5 years, I'm really pleased to see Newark come forward. You know, better late than never. We're always happy to have more on board, and really looking forward to see this policy passed and actually having, you know, the ability to say that this is a fairly strict policy. And I think you can do that if you just add the word annual and at least one to your policy. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and executive staff members. I would like to start by thanking the City of Newark for your efforts in bringing forth an ordinance against tobacco products in Newark in an effort to better community health and protect Newark's youth. I stand before you today to address a pressing public health issue, the widespread use of e-cigarettes among youth. A bunch of surveys, including the California Healthy Kids Survey from the Newark Unified School District, shows that about 12% of 11th graders have vaped nicotine in the past, and 72% of Newark Memorial and Newark Middle School students themselves believe that vaping is an issue for students in Newark. I feel that it is imperative to recognize the devastating impact of nicotine addiction in adolescent brains, which are still highly developing and at a critical stage of development. The CDC has emphasized the high susceptibility of young people to the addictive effects of nicotine. The cycle of addiction is difficult to break, especially for developing brains, which is why I believe that a ban on all flavored tobacco products is a positive step, but banning all vape products in general would be ideal, as once the flavored products are banned, students will just fall back on unflavored products because they do whatever they can to get a hit. Addiction pushes adolescents to use any nicotine product they can access, regardless of whether it is flavored or unflavored. I urge the New York City Council to consider implementing further tobacco retail ordinance by banning all vapes. By taking this proactive measure, we can safeguard the health and well-being of our young people and create a healthier future for Newark. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, City Council and City staff. My name is Rachel Gratz-Lazarus, Senior Program Specialist with Alameda County Public Health Department's Tobacco Control Program. Our program provides information and education to cities throughout Alameda County considering tobacco control policies. While we do not lobby and cannot request any specific policy action, I did want to reiterate the type of resources that our program could offer to support TRL implementation in Newark, should the city decide to move forward with this policy. This includes developing educational mailing materials on how retailers can comply with adopted TRL ordinance regulations, conducting in-person one-on-one retailer education visits to clarify TRL requirements prior to the effective date, sharing sample TRL implementation materials, including applications, inspection checklists, and TRL web pages from other cities. Also sharing resources to assist the city in setting an annual TRL fee to cover the cost of enforcement and implementation, and sharing product research on ambiguously labeled tobacco products found for sale in the city to support enforcement in making flavored tobacco product determinations, as tobacco companies use ambiguously labeled products to circumvent flavored tobacco laws. We're also happy to invite Newark to participate in quarterly tobacco retail enforcement network meetings, which support information sharing, best practices, and cross-jurisdictional partnerships with TRL enforcement officials across Alameda County and the Bay Area. Lastly, I want to highlight that Eden Youth and Family Center trains youth decoys who could partner with the city enforcement to assess whether retailers are selling tobacco to minors. And this support might be helpful, as already mentioned, as the Stake Act's data showed that 7 out of 16 Newark tobacco retailers inspected sold to minors in 2020. So I hope this information is helpful. Thank you so much for your leadership in discussing this important public health issue.
No, your information is very helpful. And I think I heard the Director of Code Enforcement indicate that they're going to certainly reach out and partner with you on a number of these issues. So thank you for that. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you for this opportunity. Good evening, New York City Council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Carmen Javier. I'm an adult medicine physician with a concentration in preventive medicine and public health. I have been, in the last couple months, rotating with the Alameda County Public Health Tobacco Control Branch, and I just want to say that while I don't live in Newark, I'm just very impressed by everything I've learned about this community, and I'm just very proud that there's been so much community efforts gathered around this tobacco retail ordinance. So I'm here in my capacity as a physician and as someone in public health to give you a little bit, remind you from that perspective a little bit of history and highlight the health effects of tobacco products. America is no stranger to regulations for tobacco products. It's been since 1964 when the U.S. Surgeon General's report on smoking and health demonstrated to the American public the harms of tobacco. A local tobacco retail licensing ordinance in the city of Newark plays a critical role in realizing those goals. The evidence against the use of tobacco products is surmounting and dates back almost a century. We know that smoking causes lung cancer, and we also know that smoking is the leading cause of cancer-related death among men and women in the U.S. and worldwide. Further, smoking is negatively associated with many health risk factors: cardiovascular disease, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and other cancers such as larynx and esophageal cancer. Furthermore, the accumulated length of time and the years that one is smoking or consuming tobacco products only makes these outcomes worse. It's therefore essential that we have regulations in place to protect everyone, especially our youth, from the predatory marketing tactics of tobacco retail. An ordinance like this will standardize how tobacco products may or may not be sold, therefore creating common ground in which to promote fair trade. We must prioritize public health over profit, long-term benefits over immediate challenges. A healthier community in which we can all breathe tobacco-free is one that the residents of Newark deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. Dear Mayor Hannon, Vice Mayor, and council members, my name is Layla Verduzco. I'm a sixth grader currently attending the Newark Junior High School. I'm here to speak on the dangers on tobacco in our community and for you to hopefully ban the sale of all flavored tobacco products and vapes, as well as other tobacco-related health protections for residents. As a sixth grader, I have heard about my fellow classmates and peers engaging in vaping, and I strongly believe that we are way too young to be using it. It's very harmful to our bodies and can distract us from getting good grades and being good students. Please take these issues into consideration when making your decision on banning these dangerous products. Thank you.
Is this your daughter?
Yes.
How proud you must be of her.
I'm super proud.
I mean,
of her.
how bold she is to stand up in front of a lot of folks that she doesn't know and speak passionately about an issue to which she cares about. As a sixth grader, you should be proud of her, and we're proud of you.
Super proud of you.
Thank you.
Dear Mayor Hannon, Vice President Freitas, and council members, my name is Cynthia Verduzco. I'm a Newark mom of a sixth grader, a first grader at Kennedy, and a 2-year-old little girl. I'm also a board member at the Newark Middle School and a resident of our amazing city. I would like you to address the harms of tobacco sales in our community by adopting a comprehensive tobacco retail licensing ordinance, including ending the sale of all flavored tobacco products and vapes. As a person of color and a former student of the junior high and Memorial myself, I can attest to the harms of smoking in our schools and communities, as I myself have witnessed the use of these products firsthand. The tobacco industry targets youth and communities of color with aggressive marketing of tobacco products. From my personal experience, my father started smoking at the very young age of 12 and has since then passed away from many complications of his years of smoking that contribute. We need to ban the sale of all flavored tobacco immediately due to the harm it's causing to our youth. I am not only coming to you as a mother and concerned resident, but as a daughter who lost her dad and still needs her dad. An ordinance is only as strong as its enforcement. Making sure at least one annual compliance check in the city's TRL ordinance ensures its effectiveness in reducing tobacco sales for Newark residents. One tobacco sales inspection and one youth decoy operation annually per store will ensure the retailers are held accountable to comply with the law and not sell to minors. Please help us end the sales of these harmful products, as they are not only harmful for our bodies, but to the environments and to our families. Thank you so much for your time.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Mayor Hannon, Vice Mayor Freitas, and council members. My name is Selena Cecina. I am one of the counselors over at the Newark Middle School. I am so proud to see students as well as parents representing the middle school here tonight. I know you've been hearing a lot of voices from high school students, voices from activists, community members, and I'm just really glad to hear and see that there's a presence from us at the middle school, because I feel like a lot of what's been shared here is thinking that it's like our teens, just our high school students who are being impacted by this, but our middle school students are also seeing this too. I am so grateful to hear that there is talk of the tobacco retail license. This is a good step in the right direction. A lot of our members who have spoken already so far have brought up that there are hopes for the future, whether it's those annual checks, like really making that language clear, whether it's, just leaving the door open for future amendments, future things to make it stronger. And at least, at the middle school level, plenty of folks have spoken on the data points, the Healthy Kids survey, that we have juniors and seniors who have spoken to that. And I will say that at very least, there's a good number of those students who, those first experiences that they had, smoking, vaping, there's a good chance that those students in that data were students who actually had their first experience in middle school. We care so much about our students' health. It's a reality, unfortunately, even for students. Our students at the middle school age ranges go from 11 to 14. We really want to see this drop. We're doing our best at our school to take care of our students, but it needs to be a community approach to being able to safeguard them and protect their health. So, I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out. And again, thank you so much for raising this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Wendy Cáceres. I am a Newark resident since my early years in medical school at Stanford. I'm now an internal medicine physician who sees adult patients in clinic, and I teach medical trainees. But I grew up in a working class immigrant community that had a strong local business culture, and I saw firsthand that we were targeted, and I see not much has changed in this tobacco nicotine business plan. I have noticed the proliferation of smoke shops in our city and was saddened to see it. I also grew up with a grandmother who started smoking tobacco at the age of 13. I saw how she struggled to quit nicotine, which she never quite could, and ultimately passed of 2 lung cancers at a very young age. Now, as a physician, I know from the data and experience that adults who start nicotine before the age of 21 are going to have a near impossible challenge of quitting nicotine. It is even harder than quitting heroin. Just let that sink in. It's harder than quitting heroin. We have options in primary care to help people quit, but my experience bears out the data. Even with these folks struggle, even if they're experiencing health problems such as worsening asthma, emphysema, cirrhosis, heart disease, and even cancer. I support and guide these patients, sharing with them that it's not a personal fault that they cannot quit, but that exposure to nicotine before the age of 21 has greatly affected their brain when it was in development. The brain is still developing in the youth. That's why we focus there. But I ask you to do all you can to protect their healthy futures as well. I'm heartened that with the commitment to the health of community signaled by moving this forward so quickly, and I look forward to the banning of all vaping products and stronger measures in the future.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. It is so nice to see everyone again. My name is Catherine Faraji. I spoke in detail at the last meeting on how New York needs a strong tobacco retail licensing ordinance to tackle the vaping issue among the youth. Thank you, Mayor Hannon, for following up on the issues raised and making an effort to strengthen the ordinance. It would be wonderful if the ordinance could include banning the sale of all vapes and set a minimum number of annual compliance checks required per store. This would prevent access to minors and decrease the amount of smoking on school campuses. But if that is too much to agree on, approving the current draft will at least be a step in a positive direction. I hope the council keeps the best interest of Newark youth in mind when voting, instead of business owners' profits. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Okay, I'm going to go and close the speaking portion of this and turn it over to you, Mr. Benoon, to comment on issues or questions raised and/or staff.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. Again, I thank the public for engaging us this evening. Several comments were made, various topics were discussed. I'm just going to respond to some of them in turn, and to the extent I miss something, I'm going to invite our Community Preservation Manager, Mr. Carrillo, to follow up on. I think first and perhaps foremost, a lot of comments were made about requesting a ban of flavored smoking substances. And to be clear, the proposed ordinance does establish a ban of flavored smoking products, and that would include hookah. Second, in terms of enforcement, we do have two code enforcement officers. They would be the ones tasked with enforcing this ordinance. As far as the time for us to put this together, we did need a very skilled and competent community preservation manager. That position was filled last year with Mr. Carrillo. We're very fortunate to have him on our team. And I know with his leadership that we'll have no problem enforcing this ordinance with our two code enforcement officers. We could have enacted an ordinance a while back, but frankly, we would lack the resources to administer the program and ensure that there is compliance. With a skilled manager here at the helm, I have every faith and confidence that this ordinance and licensing program would be enforced. As the mayor so indicated earlier, there are fines pursuant to state law. We're a general law city, and those fines are frankly very minimal in the context of the business operations. However, there is a significant remedy here. The code enforcement officers do have an election of remedies, and one of the remedies would be a suspension on one violation, and that suspension would be 30 days. And you're essentially closing down a business for a 30-day period, which is very significant. Second offense, I believe, was 90 days. Third offense was a year, and fourth offense is essentially revocation of the permit. Those are fairly dramatic and drastic repercussions to any business. Earlier, I believe it was one of the speakers may have characterized it as a moderate approach. I don't know if I necessarily would characterize it that way. You know, looking at the benchmark cities, it is fairly aggressive from my perspective. It does have a 1,000-foot ban across the board from youth-populated areas as well as other retailers, minimum pack sizes, minimum pricing as to cigars and little cigars, ban on pharmacy restrictions, coupon restrictions, and so on. So from staff's perspective, I would characterize it as, I think, fairly aggressive compared to the other jurisdictions. As far as assistance, thank you to the speakers who came here this evening, who offered assistance. You are more than welcome to speak with Mr. Carrillo following tonight's meeting, and he'd be more than happy to talk to you and discuss whatever assistance your agency can provide us. A lot of the comments discussed or requested a ban of vaping products. I guess a couple quick things. One, the majority of jurisdictions here in Alameda County do not ban vaping devices. But secondly, the proposed ordinance is always subject to change as the landscape changes here in Newark, as staff conducts their enforcements, conducts their inspections. And staff would be, of course, willing to come back at any point in time with recommendations should circumstances change at some point in the future, and we would gladly do that. I believe I've covered all of the notes I have. I did take extensive notes here this evening. Mr. Carrillo, is there anything that I misstated? Is there anything you'd like to clarify Is there anything you'd like to add to my comments?
No, you got it all, but I look forward to continuing to work with Rachel from Alameda County Public Health. They've been a great assistance thus far, and I definitely want to recognize them for the technical work that they've provided us thus far.
Great. Colleagues, questions? Comments? Councilmember Jorgens.
Yeah, just briefly. I think, this is a good start for the city. I think, as we move forward, we're going to find that we're going to need to strengthen it in different places, especially, when it comes to minimum pack size and pricing. I'm glad to see that there, but figuring out what that is and fine tuning it as we go along, that's something that, we're going to need to be in conversation about and make sure that we're doing. Same with, I think it's going to be possible for us to come up with a good definition that's going to, really limit youth access to vaping products. Just making sure that that's at, the front of our mind when we're thinking about this as we're moving forward, finding something that allows us, some kind of clarity there on a definition as we go forward. And then in the long term, I think, looking at the transference, looking at the, legal non-compliance status, I'm very concerned in the long run that could cause a problem. So I would hope that, maybe it could be an annual report that, staff comes back to us with on this. Once we get going, here's what we're finding, here's what we need to do better. Because I think we are gonna, while this is a really good start, I think we're gonna find areas where we can be doing better. So I would hope to see some kind of annual report from staff on that. And then I just want to, thank all of the speakers that we had, especially, the young folks. When we're trying to limit, youth tobacco smoking, you guys are the experts and you're gonna help us, find the policies that, we need that are, actually gonna be helpful. So, and, I really do appreciate all the feedback.
Vice Mayor Freitas.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I want to thank the 23 speakers tonight. It was a very clear message, very clear message. So I'm wondering, Mr. Mayor, what is this 40 retailers we have in Newark? Nobody show up tonight in support of speaking against. So.
Correct. We did host or Mr. Carrillo, I should say, hosted a webinar with the retailers a few months ago to discuss the proposed ordinance. I think it was minimally attended. I don't think any questions were submitted. I'm unaware of any retailers here this evening. Mr. Carrillo, if you have anything further to add.
Yeah, I did send out letters to all of the retailers, inviting them to tonight's session.
Yeah, so but nobody show up of the 40. So, but thank you for the 23. Courageous speakers spoke on favor of the introducing of the ordinance, and anytime you're done, Mr. Mayor, I'm ready to move forward.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to address the folks that spoke and the folks that are listening online. This is, somebody mentioned, this is really a community approach. That's the responsibility of government. Government is supposed to look out for the well-being of all of its residents, irrespective of age. And when we see that there is an issue that creates a health and safety issue in our community, it's our responsibility to address it. And as the city manager mentioned, this is something certainly we would like to have done earlier. But you don't want to roll out an ordinance when you're not going to be successful in implementing and enforcing. I'm very confident with our new community preservation manager. He understands the responsibility of the program. He understands the responsibility that he's heard from you. He knows that you want and we want aggressive enforcement. We want compliance. The rules and the regulations are fairly clear. Don't sell to minors. Don't sell flavored products. It's clear. There's no ambiguity there. And when we find out that there's businesses out there that believe that the profit is more important to them than compliance, we're going to take the steps necessary to stop them, because that's our responsibility as a community. I'm really proud of all the young people that showed up tonight, because it's really our responsibility to safeguard your health moving forward. My mother died from lung cancer, and I know there were a couple of doctors here tonight. She died of lung cancer at 59 and had asthma on top of it. But when she grew up, she was born in the late 20s, early 30s. When she grew up, smoking was considered, a health product. And it wasn't until the early 60s that the Surgeon General first came out with it may cause. and subsequently changed it to will cause. So the federal government came on board and noted the risks associated with smoking. I was talking to a citizen tonight who was talking to a number of young children, and she was explaining to them that her mother had smoked for many, many years and had died of lung cancer. And the children asked her, well, what caused the lung cancer? And she said she was a smoker. She smoked. And the kids asked her, what is smoking? So we are making inroads in our young people to understand the consequences of smoking. Do we have further to go? Absolutely. But when kids don't understand what smoking is, we're on the right track, and we're going to get there. So we wholeheartedly support this. I like Councilmember Jorgen's suggestion that we come back. This is our first bite at the apple. We're going to come back, and we're going to learn from you, because you're the consumers, you're the citizens. You're going to bring to our attention it's working or it's not working, and here's where it's not working, and here's where we would suggest that you make improvements. Mr. Carrillo and his staff are going to be out there in the community unannounced. They're not calling these businesses, I'll be out on Tuesday, oh, by the way, get ready for the inspection. Oftentimes we go out unannounced, and starting with the decoys, we go out unannounced, because there should be an expectation of compliance. And if you're not complying, there's going to be consequence. So I'm really comfortable with this ordinance moving forward. It's a first shot at it. We're going to review it in a year. I'll be interested to see how many businesses we have. I don't think it'll be larger than 39. I think it'll be less than that. I'm not going to bet on it, though. So with that being said, if there's no further comments from city staff, I'll look for a motion. So moved by Vice Mayor Freitas to move the ordinance forward.
Second.
By Councilmember Jorgens. Please vote. And I want to say before I tally the votes, we had unfortunately to recuse Councilmember Apodaca and Councilmember Collazo. But knowing them as I know them, they would have been part of this yes vote. So it'll be let's see what it's going to be. Shoot, that would have been awkward. It would have been 5-0, but it's 3-0 with two council members, Collazo and Apodaca, recusing themselves.
Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newark, adding Chapter 5.42 Tobacco Retailers to the Newark Municipal Code.
Again, thank you for your participation tonight. I'm going to take a 2-minute break before we move on to our next item. Thank you again for coming. Actually, fuck, I got 3 leaving in about 3 meetings.
One of your new ones I'm not worried about. The other 2 I don't know.
We are live, Your Honor.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call the City Council meeting back to order. Thank you for your patience. The last item on our agenda is to adopt a resolution approving the facilities master plan and direct staff to explore options for a funding plan for the priority needs as identified in the plan. Mr. Benoon?
Yes. Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. This is the final version of the facilities master plan. We have a brief presentation tonight from Senior Management Analyst Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Honor, members of the City Council. I'm here this evening to present the final facilities master plan for your consideration and approval. Before we review the key categories in the implementation plan of the facilities master plan, I will provide some background on how we got here. The city owns and maintains 24 building structures. This includes park restroom buildings, the Silliman Center, and these 3 brand new buildings here at Civic Center, including 3 vacant buildings, Watkins Hall, the old library, and the old fire station. Each of these buildings is managed on an individual basis as opposed to a comprehensive preventative maintenance plan. Many of these buildings are aging and have a lot of maintenance needs. Along with the needs of the building, the community of Newark is evolving. The population is increasing and the demographics are changing. Because of this, it was clear that we needed a citywide facilities master plan. And so in November of 2022, City Council authorized an agreement with Group 4 Architecture and Planning for the development of this plan. The consultant then spent the next year engaging in the community through a very extensive community engagement process to find out the needs of our community. In addition, they completed facility condition assessments of each of the 24 building structures, along with a needs assessment of the staff and the processes and operations of our buildings. And then they finally reviewed options with city staff and the council. And in February of 2024, they provided an overview of the findings from the facilities master plan process and a summary of the community engagement. And last month in September, the draft plan was presented to City Council, and we're here tonight for the final plan. The implementation plan is broken into 4 key categories: preventative maintenance, renovations and capital projects, new or replacement facilities, and the option to sell, repurpose, or demolish our vacant buildings. I will review each of these categories on the following slides and the next steps that are recommended. The first category is preventative maintenance. There's an estimated $73 million of preventative maintenance over the next 20 years. It is important to note that this figure does not include the buildings recommended for replacement or those 3 vacant buildings. The recommended next steps include establishing a maintenance reserve fund, which was accomplished earlier this evening, and for staff to develop a comprehensive long-term preventative maintenance plan. The second category is renovations and capital projects. Future projects were identified during the development of the plan to improve the operational efficiency and anticipated growth in staff and services. And while there are no immediate next steps required, the information gathered during the plan and the recommended timeframes will serve as a guide when making future recommendations for the capital improvement program. The third category is new or replacement facilities. And as you've heard a few times, the plan does recommend the replacement of fire stations 27 and 29 and the replacement of the existing community center with a new cultural arts center to meet the needs of the community. Fire stations 27 and 29 are estimated to cost between $15 and $19 million, and the cultural arts center is estimated to cost between $32 and $56 million. And this cost can vary depending on the size of the facility and the programming options. The recommended next steps are for City Council to direct staff to explore funding options, and we will be looking for action on this item this evening. The last category is sell, repurpose, or demolish. And as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 vacant buildings. Again, the old fire station, the old library, and Watkins Hall. During the 2-part community engagement process that was conducted during the development of this plan, the community did not identify any specific use for these buildings. Because of the condition of the buildings, action is recommended in the near term. And that recommended next step will be for staff to conduct some additional analysis to better inform our further recommendations to City Council. This next slide is a quick overview of the implementation plan straight out of the final report. And this is just an overview of the projects over the next 20 years, broken down by immediate and short-term, near-term, mid-term, and long-term, along with the cost of safety issues and maintenance. And that concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any clarifying questions before I open up to the public for their comments, questions? Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on this item? Great. I'll return it back to the council for any questions you may have. Yes, Vice Mayor Freitas.
This is myself. Can we go back to slide, I believe, 7 for the Center of Performing Arts and the price? It's okay from 32 to 56. It's a very wide range of the. So were we? Which numbers we just plug in, or just numbers we came up with? It's almost double. That's why I'm concerned.
So thank you for your question. During the community engagement phase, we presented 3 options to the community: option A, option B, and option C. They were 3 different sizes, ranging from 18,000, 25,000 to 32,000. Each of those correlates with the cost, and those included different programming options.
Thank you.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
The only question I have, again, thank you for the report, and thank you for the hard work you've done on this. Watkins Hall, is that currently identified as a historical structure nationally or local, statewide? No? Okay. I would wonder, would it be of benefit for the city to ask for such a designation, which might open up some federal or state funding for renovation of that structure? Thoughts? Comments?
We'd be happy to explore that. I don't have any definitive information that I can relay to the council this evening, but we'd be more than happy to explore that option.
Yeah, most people don't like historical designation because of all the regulations that come with the maintenance and upkeep of the property. But this is a building that's been vacant for quite some time, and it's really a noble structure, I think, in our community, and I'd certainly like to see it somehow preserved for some future benefit. So maybe, Ms. Gonzalez, if you could look into whether or not the designation, either at a federal or state level, whatever the case may be, or even the local level, would allow us to tap into some federal grant dollars. Okay?
Of course, we'd be happy to look at that.
Could you clarify what Watkins Hall was, or why you think it might be historical?
Well, if you look at the building, I think it was constructed around 1880-ish.
I don't remember off the
Mayor
top of
Nagy
my
told
head.
me
I'd
he
be
used to
happy
go play there on occasion. I believe it was built around, because you'll see the year on the building. I want to say 1880-ish. It might even be earlier than that. So it's a significant structure in our community, probably one of the oldest buildings for the community of Newark. So I'd certainly like to preserve it. I think it's been I think back in the day it was a dance hall and other various uses.
So I've heard.
So Mayor Nagy has told me. But there might be some opportunities there for us to tap into some federal grant dollars on that. So I'd certainly appreciate you looking into it. Other questions or comments? Oh, is that Mayor Nagy on the phone? If there's no more questions, this is informational. When do you think you will come back?
It's not informational. We are looking for.
To move forward on the fund. Yes. If I can get a motion and a second on this item. By Councilmember Apodaca, seconded by Councilmember Collazo. Please vote. And this passes unanimously 5-0. I didn't catch the date, Mr. Benoon, when you thought staff might come back with some of the funding opportunities and options. Is this something we're looking at in the next 60, 90, 120 days? At this point, do you know?
I would say next year.
Next year?
Next year.
Perfect.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark adopting the facilities master plan and directing staff to explore funding options to replace fire stations 27 and 29 and the replacement of the existing community center with a new cultural arts center.
Okay, City Manager, updates, please.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, and members of the council. I have one update this evening. Saturday, October 19th, the city is hosting a community cleanup day. Residents are encouraged to come over to the city's corporate yard at 37440 Filbert Street. The purpose of the event is to accept any items, bulky items, trash, e-waste, appliances, things like that, from 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. This is a free community cleanup event. Anyone can register. We do request appointments. Feel free to email our Public Works Department at mainreq@newark.org. We have more information posted on our website. And so far, we have over 150 residents signed up. So that is Saturday, October 19th.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And it's always just a reminder to our community that as a result of the garbage contract that we have with Republic Services, we do provide bulky pickups to residents. I believe it's either 3 or 4 times per year, 3 times per year. Residents really need to take advantage of that. It's so convenient. You put it out there at your curb, certain size. They take appliances, mattresses, things of that nature. Let's take advantage of that. It's a service that we pay for, so let's take advantage of it. Colleagues, I'll start to my left. Councilmember Apodaca?
Nothing for tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Collazo?
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, on October 26th, we are going to be hosting Dia de los Muertos on Thornton Avenue, right in front of Mexico Tortilla Factory, so you're all invited. We have one more council meeting. I will remind you then again, but please put it on your calendar. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. So, and shop Newark.
Excellent. Excellent. Councilmember Jorgens?
Nothing for me tonight.
Vice Mayor Freitas?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just one item. So I'd like to, should congratulate the George Salamanca Aquatic Center. We are celebrating 20 years of existence of this month. So 20 years. Yes. Mr. Ruiz, yes, and 24 years, the fitness center, I guess it's called, but 4 years apart. But the aquatic center has been very important to the Newark residents, and that's 20 years of existence, even sometimes with some difficulties on pumpings and all that, but overall Newark residents are very, and the Tri-City area is very happy and was, by the way, the mayor at the time, even, do you know who was the mayor at the time, inaugurated the...
20 years ago would have been Mayor Dave Smith.
Yes, and Mr. Nagy was?
A council member.
Very good. Well said.
I was going to run out to the hallway real quickly and just double check. November 5. A big day, federally, state, and locally. November 5 is an opportunity for all citizens to exercise their right and the privilege to vote. So please take the opportunity to vote. I know ballots have been received in the mail. This is a real opportunity to have a voice, and we talked about that earlier tonight with our folks from the Promotoras group. It's your right to have a vote, so and a voice. So please take advantage and please vote, certainly by November the 5th. If there's nothing further, we have no closed session items this evening, and we are adjourned.